promise I'm not hungover. Let's go to the dollar store. My original plan for the day was to go to the MoMA, but that changed when I woke up with an absolute skull splutter, y'all. And ouch, it was way too bright outside for my sensitive eyes, but I ran out of ibuprofen, so I was forced to leave my hidey hole and thought I might as well stop by Family Dollar and experiment with some new art supplies. So, forget MoMA, let's make some dollar store art, baby! We're making our way through good old Bushwick, my stomping grounds, and despite my pain, I had to admit it was a gorgeous day. I love spring here. Here's our local community garden, so lovely. And we've made it. Obviously, my options here were pretty basic, but I appreciated that because it wasn't overwhelming. I decided to go with some acrylic paints, keeping it simple with white and red. Gotta have some paintbrushes. I also decided to play around with thread and sandpaper. I want to see what kind of different textures I can achieve by adding textile elements and sanding off surfaces. That is my kitty, Mr. Mistopheles. She keeps me inspired, and this picture of her mignon will be tattooed onto my body at some point. Anyway, here is the haul. So I am back from the dollar store. My head is okay enough to be inside the rest of the day. I have all of my goodies, my paint, and my sewing kit, and the sandpaper, my paintbrushes. Okay. I also have a few other things that I've been using for other projects that I also want to incorporate into a piece today. I've got this 22 gauge wire, and I have these little shards of glass from, I smashed up this vase and was gluing them to pieces of wire, creating God knows what. That is still, we're still figuring that one out. But I have these little tiny pieces of glass that I feel like could become like a bejeweled element in whatever I make today. And I'm just challenging myself to use all of this in a piece. I usually take a more minimalist approach to my collages. It's easy for me to get carried away or at least overwhelmed if I try to use too many elements in one piece at once. So I usually keep it pretty minimal, but today I just feel like getting messy and sloppy and slapping a bunch of things together with zero plan at all. So we're really going along for the ride, and given my limited brain power right now, that'll be interesting and I hope fun. So let's get going. First decision we gotta make is about the base that we will be pasting onto. I tried to find something a bit stiffer and more solid, like this construction paper. I didn't want to work with the whole hunk of a square, so I cut it down and gave it a top arch, just for a bit of a different shape. And then we go a-hunting for images. I love it when I rediscover old cutouts and get to see how it's become this sort of organic collage, the way the negative space reveals what was behind it. I wasn't looking for anything in particular. It's usually a kind of, you know it when you see it kind of thing. Something I like about the process. But this botanical scene spoke to me, I guess. I don't usually go for a background quite so busy, but in the spirit of this experiment, I was ready for some departure from my usual projects. and I wanted to take up the whole background, so I cut out the image to match the shape of the foundation paper. Foundation paper? Yeah, let's call it that. Cut and paste. This scrap from another project was already just lying on my desk, and this lady was staring me down, so I had to use her. I found a little shadowy place in the middle of the scene to place her, peeping through the leaves. And I decided to just get going with the paint. I tried really hard to just go for it, to not overthink it, and it felt nice. Obviously, my strokes are haphazard and inexpert, but I just tried to enjoy the sensation layering the paint on that magazine glossy surface. At some point, I just wanted to mix it up even more, I guess, texture-wise, and I went with these little dabs here and there. And then I went in with the red. I used it to create a semi-frame in the upper left corner, which you totally can't see here. Hello? Camera angles? Maybe check your frame before you start filming. Okay, there we go. More dabbing. These little dabs kind of just felt like an overlay of the same flower pattern that was underneath the white paint, which gave me an idea to add to the pattern that was already in the background by using these apples. And I love that I was able to find both the still life style painted pile of apples as well as the black and white photograph ones. I got both of these images from the Met Flip calendar I went through last year, which I gotta say has provided so many good images to work with. It was like it was made for collage. These pictures had some dark edges and I wanted them to blend in better with the white paint, so I used the sandpaper to scrape away some of the color and make the edges hazier. Okay, now I'm going to start working with this thread. My idea was to create a sort of sight line going from the woman's eyes to the big bright red apple over there on the left. But this was more difficult than I thought it would be. But I'm hoping with practice that I can start incorporating thread more often. It also didn't pop too well against the background, but I didn't know how to fix that at the time, so I just let it be subtle. And I guess I just couldn't get enough of the paint, so I wanted to add another layer. I think I was trying to blend everything together better, but in retrospect, I don't know if that was necessary. However, I did like the effect I got when I added just a little bit of red on top of the black and white apples. But then I just kept going with that red. Someone stop me. Okay, I said I was going to use everything, so here we go with the wire. At some point, I want to do more shaping with the wire I use in my pieces, but this time it felt right to just use them as stems that would blend in with the flowers and the grass in the background. I gotta say, even though these are also hard to see, I like the directional flow they create as they kind of sprout out of that corner and point toward the rest of the piece. Gotta use the crazy glue for this one. It's the purple glue stick is just not gonna cut it with the wire. Uh, okay, this is where I cheated. I know I said I was gonna use those pieces of glass as some sort of bedazzlement, but I don't know, that wasn't working for me. So I went through a loophole and just put a clear piece of glass over one of my lady's eyes. Sorry, I'm having a hard time straying from my usual minimal approach. That being said, something was missing. I wanted my lady's eyes to really stand out, which they were not. So I gave her this Target, like, halo crown? I don't know. I think it did the job okay. When I realized the paint was too thick for me, I tried to scratch them away, but this didn't really work. And hello, neither did adding more red aspen. Why? So instead, I decided just to add more details to hopefully fix how over hazy that section looked. So I drew and cut out these little apples to stick on the pile. And here's the finished product. Ta-da! Well, we did it. Kind of. um, thumbnail, I guess. I I think I like it. I think I learned a lot in this experiment. I've never played with paint before. I mean, I've used paint before, but like not in this way. And I got really excited when I started laying down that white down at the bottom. Um, and then got a little crazy with the sandpaper. And I think that ended up washing things out a little bit too much. But once I added those little extra apples on, I think that helped give a little more definition to that bottom left area. And I like how the wires, um, I don't know, I liked how that turned out. It feels like it flows pretty well, turning those into just really minimalistic stems. It's hard to see. All of this is kind of hard to see, partially because I have terrible lighting. Um, I've mentioned before, I live in the depths. I live in the underworld. I live in the underworld, and um, this the background I started out with. There's a lot of shadow and um, a lot of noise, and so it was beautiful, but the small elements get are distracted from. So, I kind of wanted the focal point to be the lady's eyes. She's looking at that apple. We'll call her Eve. Um, I wanted that to be the focus, but yeah, she just blends right in there. So let me pause you right there, girly. Okay, I just have to mention that the echo gets so bad right here. I apologize. I learn something new every time I film a video. I'm not quite sure if the echo this time is because my mic was dying or because I had the fan on. Anyway, I promise to get better at this. There's not much left in the video, but kind of hard to listen to. Uh, anyway, just wanted to insert in there that, yeah, I know it's bad. Okay, and continue. Yeah, we gave her some raise, or a big old target to make it obvious what I wanted this to be about. Um, but for playing with a bunch of things, including needle and thread, I don't sew. I never really learned to sew. I grew up in a kind of fundamental, a very conservative religion, and I was very reactive against certain gender roles. So while the boys were out like doing their thing, the girls were always relegated to like arts and crafts. And just because I didn't like being divided or separated that way, um, I think I just grew allergic to certain things, including sewing, including playing with paper crafts, even and paint. Like I love art, and I uh, don't think I learned to appreciate it in my own ways growing up. You know, it was very much like, we're going to paint a wooden block and write live, love, laugh on it. So, uh, yeah, that wasn't me. And I thought none of this was me until recently. So I think as far as learning and growing experience goes, this was successful. Thanks for watching. If you did, let me know what you want to see next. I still need to take you on a tour of my other collages, but I got a few things in the works, so hang in there, and I hope I see you next time.